All right, everyone. So, 5 years ago, I was actually fat as fuck. Now, a lot of people, they might not believe that, but I was depressed. I was self-conscious. All the times, I'd be emotionally eating, binge eating, all or nothing. I'm sure everyone knows that, right? You've probably gone through that period of time where you either do it perfectly or you don't do it at all. But it's probably one of the most self-sabotaging things ever. The worst part about all of that is that it made me feel like I had that brain fog. I wasn't motivated to do anything, always scrolling on my phone, playing video games especially, because that was where I was getting my happiness from. Now, over time, what I've been able to do is actually get myself into a position where my body's now in shape, which means my mind's now in shape, which means I'm more confident to actually go and speak to new people, to do new things. But as a result, I now actually want to build my business, meet more people, speak to new people, because that's exciting. And when you take your shirt off and you got abs, right? Immediately it comes with some unspoken authority. People have that respect towards you. It's not out of a vanity thing, it's more so they understand what goes into achieving something like that. So that's exactly why, I want to speak with you all today, to help you get to that point, or understand what you could do in your life to help you get there. Now, a lot of us in sales think of fitness as non-ROI, right? Like, you're not getting any money back from investing into that or doing that in the first place. But it's actually quite the opposite in the real world, right? It's the biggest ROI thing that you actually could do. And this is exactly why that's the case. So why the fuck should you care in the first place? A lot of people will be like, but it doesn't apply to me. I'm already making good money. What's being in shape now going to do for me? My own journey was one hell of a roller coaster. So I definitely do have a lot of experiences on both sides of the spectrum, which I do feel would benefit some of you here. And last of all, what can you actually start doing today? Because nobody wants to just sit through a presentation and be like, well, what the fuck do I do? What the fuck do I now do? Right? Now, you don't sell fitness, but it still is going to have that unspoken effect, right? So why should you care? Just imagine yourself, right? You're looking at your prospect, you're looking at someone wearing raggedy clothes, their room's messy, they don't respect themselves. That's what you're probably thinking. You're not saying it, but it's already the subconscious thoughts, the picture that you're putting towards that person now. But now let's compare it to someone who's got their room in shape, or their body in shape, they're wearing great clothes, their room's tidy. You're already thinking, okay, like this person, they respect themselves. They actually care. And that's without you even saying anything. So already, from the start, the appearance does more than the words actually do. Now, if we're doing that to prospects, imagine what they're doing to us as closers. Looking at you the same way. Is this guy out of shape? Is he going to be the person to guide me towards making a decision? Help me get clearer when he himself isn't that person? Or are you the guy in shape who's got that unspoken authority around him that already builds that trust with the prospect before you even say anything? Because they're now thinking, damn, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's the person who can actually guide me to that decision. So think to that, and also now think in those social situations you might find yourself in, right? Imagine you see a fat guy walk in and he's going to give you a presentation as to how to keep your business in order. But what's the one thing everyone loves the most? Outside of money, that is. Your body. Yeah. And what are bitches like?
Russian bitches.
How you look?
A sexy body.
Right.
Yeah.
So already, without even saying anything, you're going to look at that guy and you're going to think, why should I listen to him? Why should I listen to him about putting his business in order if he's not even taking care of the one thing that he loves more than anything else, which is himself? Right? The moment you take care of yourself, people are going to expect you to be able to take care of them.
Yeah, just a quick one. I can say, not that I wouldn't say I've ever been fat, but the closest I've been to fat was 9 months ago at the last retreat. And when I was on the Zoom calls, just looking at my face, because you can see your face, it gets so much fatter. I definitely have less confidence than now. It's like the sun's on, jawline's looking good, you just have more aura, sure.
100%, man. And it's like, even in this situation, right? Once again, vanity aside, when people look at you and they say, oh, damn, this guy's in shape, especially coming from someone who was out of shape, I never was a skinny guy.
Yo.
I was fat as fuck. Now, to others, they might say that you're not fat, but it's all relative. If I told you I was 25 kilos heavier in that middle photo, would you believe me? And imagine what that's doing to your mind. Now, the reason I put this timeline here is because I understand what it's like to be the person struggling with weight loss. From when I started, getting in all right shape and binge eating on holiday, reversing all that progress I made, and then to do it again. Got in great shape, went to Bali, 14 days later, came back like that. It's just a never-ending cycle. Emotionally eating, binge eating, over-restriction. So when I'm back home, I'm dialed in, I don't go out with friends, I'm feeling miserable, I'm not wanting to actually put myself out there, because I'm like, I've got to dial in, I've got to get that physique back. And subconsciously now, you've tied your self-worth to this guy. So imagine how you're going to feel here. You're already going to be externalizing that negativity. You're not good enough. But it doesn't end there. We take it another step. The cycle just continues. I get in all right shape, had surgery. Now, people are like, you have surgery, it's fine. I use that as an excuse to actually overeat. So I got fat again. I got in shape, I went to Japan, I got fucking fat again. It's a never-ending cycle. 5 years later. Now, finally, here we are in Bali, yet I'm getting leaner than I ever have fucking been. But it wasn't because, I just made this magic switch overnight. No. After Japan, I had this moment of realization. I had 2 decisions to make in life. I could be the guy who keeps doing what the fuck I was doing for the past 5 years, not changing, being comfortable, seeking that quick dopamine from food, or I could be the guy who actually builds a respectable physique, but also builds his confidence, builds his ability to be congruent, to actually lead prospects, to make a decision the same way he can make a decision in his own life, to help people get clearer on what it is they actually can achieve. And so that's the decision that I made, which has led me to here. Now, there's a few things that you all can do to help you get to that point. Now, you might identify yourself as either one of these guys, right? Sales rep A. Maybe someone like Ellis, right? He's making 10, 20K a month, 25K actually now, right? He's doing all the follow-ups he needs to do, all the RGAs, the tedious stuff that newer guys, they don't necessarily do because they don't see the value in doing just yet, right? It's still too early on in their career for them to be like, oh, if I do that RGA, I might collect extra cash. Whereas someone like Ellis, who's been in the space a lot longer, they understand the importance of that. But however, he might be looking for what's actually next in life. Like, where do I go from here? I'm already making good money. I feel fulfilled with what I've done in sales, but where else do I go? How can I unlock my potential? And so that's where it then comes in from. Yep.
Yeah, where I struggle with, just to go, sort of is, again, not doing shit. I know obviously there's a lot more progression to be had, but I feel like, again, and I'm not in horrible shape, not in great shape, but I feel like going to the gym and fully focusing on that is too low leverage for me. In a sense, it is okay, if I spend this time and dedicate this effort and time towards more sales, I'm going to make fucking money, and that's what I'm going to prefer. So I know it's important, but the fact that I'm not in shit shape, it's I don't, it feels too low leverage for me. I don't put enough effort into it.
Okay.
So I'm also I'm just stagnant with where I am. Sure, I'm going to put more of that time into sales and progress my career in a sense.
And a question for you. If you were to say invest an extra hour every single day into sales, realistically, how much more money do you see yourself making every month?
It's hard to say, but I could make more money.
Okay. And how much more? Would that extra money, over the 25K you're already making, make you feel any better, any more fulfilled, any more happier?
Not to a large extent, no.
Okay. So there is some extent of, you can invest a bit more time and there's going to be some marginal benefits to how much you earn.
Don't. That's the thing.
Okay. And why is that? Why do you feel like that's the case?
I don't know. Again, it's a tough one. I don't know, because I feel I probably use that as cope or as an excuse, as why would I spend all this time and effort into this when I can just put it into this, but I don't necessarily.
And see, the thing with that is that, that extra hour that you could be putting into sales can be reallocated into something else that's, going to be physical activity based. Now, it doesn't have to be gym. I saw you yesterday playing paddle. You're fucking great at it. So it's like investing that extra hour into doing something that's going to get you moving, help you burn some calories, make you feel good, is already going to be that much more of a benefit for you than, say, the marginal increase in, like, say, money you might potentially earn from doing extra calls or extra sales work that day.
Yeah, and one thing you're probably going to go into it as well that would be super beneficial for me is like a limiting belief in the sense of like I think and I feel that to obviously like see the impact and to see these big results and to actually gain fulfillment out of focusing on my health, it's like it has to be a big thing. It's not something that I can just do just lightly and not put a huge amount of dedication towards it. Feels like it's a big fucking effort.
Is it safe to say there's...
I'll go to the gym every now and then.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not as consistent as I should.
Is it safe to say there might be a bit of that all or nothing seeping through?
Correct.
Right. And it's completely normal for anyone to feel that.
Yeah.
You saw that transformation. I was that guy. Every single time I'll either be 100% on the ball or I won't be.
Yeah.
But the same way you do to your prospects, right? You try and get them to make just a small improvement. It doesn't have to be that big jump straight away, but it's just a small marginal increase in whatever they were doing in their life. So that way they can build the consistency, the habits. That's going to be the first step, and that's what the real focus comes in on, to building that consistency.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely get into that more for sure on the next slide.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Orlando?
I was just gonna say, I think that last point you have, being in shape, unlikely to affect money on that call, correct? But being in shape, likely to affect money via networking. I think that's a really good point. I was excited to touch on.
And it goes back to the whole point, like, there's that unspoken just authority that someone brings when they're in shape, right? Like, we look at all those big guys like Alex Hormozy, Andy Elliott, those sort of guys. When they're in shape, they're already perceived as more respectable. Now imagine the same guy who had his belly hanging out, his belly buttons pressing against his shirt, he's got his tits, sagging. You're already going to be looking at him thinking, should I trust him? But it's not because of what he's saying, it's simply because of just how he looks. And whether anyone wants to admit it or not, that's just the case. So that would be for the first sales rep, right? You're going to earn a lot more money through your networking because there's going to be that unspoken authority there. Now, for the people who aren't there already, going to the gym is going to have an even more tangible effect on how much they could earn for a couple of reasons. Because the first thing that the gym actually does for you is it helps you develop that delayed gratification, which is what a lot of people struggle with. They don't know how to put in the work now to reap the rewards later on, especially in something like sales, where your commissions will come on the call or maybe a day or two after. So you're getting that instant gratification. You're getting that paycheck straight away after that hour. Whereas the gym, it completely unwires that and it forces you to then go into that, I've got to do the hard work now. I've got to do the RJs, the follow-ups now, to potentially get that lead to a point where they're nurtured enough to then, get them sold later on. So you're doing a lot of that hard work now because you know it can pay off in the future. And I've spoken to a lot of guys in this bucket. They might be setters especially. Those guys got to work fucking hard, right? They're doing all these calls every day, $200, $300, maybe booking in 2 guys. It's frustrating. But the one thing I've always told to those guys is the moment you make that 5, 10K month, just know it wasn't the work that you've done in that moment. It was the work that led you to get there. And that's only made possible by being consistent. And fitness will help you be consistent. It's going to be that principle that drives you forward. It develops that ability to work hard now and then earn later, get the results later on. So that's why it'll help you not only on calls because you're able to lead with confidence, congruency, but also in a networking status for the same reason we spoke about for Sales Rep A. Now, where can you actually start, right? A lot of people, and we all see it here, right? I can do it myself. It's why we have a whole remove DIY in our sales, right? Because yes, you can do it on your own. Everyone can do it on their own. But how much time and effort do you actually want to invest into doing that? When you can be doing something which is higher leverage. For you in your mind right now, especially just starting out or at a point where you're like, is it really going to be beneficial for me? Having that accountability partner, super beneficial. Now, you don't have to be like me, get a bodybuilding coach who's going to make you stay strict. Different goals, different people, different needs, right? It could be having a friend, someone to work with, Ellis Dane, yeah? Devin Kai, right? Just having those people next to you to make sure that you are doing the things that you say you want to do is going to be 10 times more beneficial. Because you might not care about letting yourself down, but how's it going to look to the other guy when he sees you letting yourself down? It's pretty embarrassing, pretty shit. That's going to wear on you as a person, on your self-worth. The next step, which I believe super important, now it's not tracking your fucking calories, because nobody wants to track their fucking calories. I only do it out of necessity, because I have to, because eventually I do plan to compete. But for everyone else just wanting to improve their life, a food journal is super key. Now, what is that? It involves taking photos or writing down the foods you have in a specific day. But more importantly, as Ellis also mentioned earlier, it's understanding what foods make you feel a certain way. For example, if you're having a lot of eggs in the morning, you might feel very sluggish afterwards. However, if you know that you're cutting back on the egg yolk and you feel better, you now have that understanding behind what foods make you feel what sort of way. That's the importance of the food journal. It's helping you understand, okay, which foods actually make me feel good, energized so I can perform on my core, and which foods are making me feel sluggish, like I want to sleep, like I can't give my full focus to those prospects. So it's key, take a photo and write down, how does it actually affect me? Then you start making your adjustments from there. If you're someone who relies on caffeine, fasting, whatever it may be, if it works for you and it's something you can stick to, follow that. The next most important thing though is hydration. I see a lot of guys neglect this. Now you might think, well, it's just water, right? I'll just drink more water. But how many of us right now can say your mouth is fucking dry, but you're pissing every second, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. If I just drink more water, I'm gonna piss it out, but my mouth's still dry. And a dry mouth is a big sign of dehydration. So what do you actually do in that case? You don't just pump yourself with more water. Your body's just going to release it all already. Now you're at risk of headaches, cramps. Imagine you're on a call and you have a headache or you have a cramp. How much is that going to affect your performance on that call? The only thing you're thinking about is, oh my God, I can't wait to just go hit the bed, right? Pop a Nurofen, right? Do something to just get rid of this annoying pain. So that's going to maybe impact your call. So if you're in that situation, like me right now, dry mouth, you're pissing out every second, maybe adding a bit more salt to your foods. So understanding how those small things actually affect your performance is going to go a long way for you already. Sleep is a big one. We don't need to, yep.
Just like 10 minutes or so.
Yep, yep. Sleep is a huge one, right? So many of us neglect it, right? We think, oh, we're great. We wake up 4 hours of sleep. I feel good, but you only feel good because that's the only thing you know how to feel, right? You've never experienced what 7 hours of quality sleep actually looks like, right? So I don't need to go into it. You all know the go. Don't go on your phone before bed. Try and eliminate, foods that are going to, spike your blood sugar at night, like high carbs, whatever it may be. Okay? The focus is on getting quality sleep, not quantity of sleep. Daily activity is important. A lot of guys here, you see me always at my desk on my treadmill. Why is that? It's because not only am I trying to get my steps in, but it's helping my body actually digest the foods so that it actually can use the foods I've eaten as energy, not as fat being stored. So whatever activity it is that you guys enjoy, running, if it's going for walks, if it's playing paddle, going to the gym, after eating a big meal especially, is going to be super beneficial for you. It's going to help your body digest it, make you actually feel like you want to do things rather than just have a snooze on the couch. Track your fitness and your sales, your networking performance. Now, I'm not saying to track your calories, I'm not saying to do any of that, but at the bare minimum, track your body weight. The biggest difference for me now, relative to all those other times I gained all that weight, is I actually have a body weight scale with me. You might think, I'm not fucking carrying a scale with me. But it helps you understand, in addition to your food journal, should I be eating more food or should I be eating less food? Just by seeing that number on the scale, you can now make better decisions every single day, which is going to help you feel better. If you're feeling bloated, you're feeling sick, how is that going to then translate to your cause? You're not going to feel too good. You're going to feel tired. Focus on doing this for 3 weeks is the biggest thing now to avoid that all or nothing mindset. Because now if you can just focus on doing it for 3 weeks instead of for the rest of your life, you're reducing that barrier, that friction to actually getting a start on it, which is where so many people go wrong. Overthinker like myself, the biggest thing that holds me back is just thinking of all the things I have to do before I actually do it. If you can reduce the speed to implementation, you're going to be that much more able to actually do the things, build the habits, get to a point where you find what works, what doesn't work, and double down on what's working. That is how you build consistency, how you build something that you can actually sustain for the rest of your life. And that's pretty much everything. Yes, Orlando.
What is the biggest hack that you've learned to weight loss?
Caffeine. Caffeine's amazing. Caffeine, no sugar soft drinks, chewing gum, brushing your teeth after you finish eating at night. I don't know how many of us get peckish at night, but I know that's my biggest downfall. Brushing my teeth the moment I have that last meal and having chewing gum is going to make your mouth so fresh that you're less inclined to actually go into the kitchen, into the fridge, and actually snack. Caffeine's an appetite suppressant, so that's going to help you in the morning. I know Kai does that, works for him clearly, so that could be something that works for you. If you're someone who likes fasting, that could also work. But yeah, the no sugar drinks, those are going to keep you full because they're very, full of like that acidic stuff, so it's going to, sit in your stomach a lot more. Yes.
What's your advice for somebody like me who's, doesn't have the skinny fat like you, just have a little bit, long handles like this, but in relatively kind of good shape?
Yeah. And what sort of advice would you be looking for?
I just want to look good.
So appearance.
Yeah, look better.
Okay.
But I still want to be able to have my agility, have
Correct.
like a snap.
Okay.
I want to be able to still like be flexible and stuff.
Okay. So the short-term goal is to look better. What's the long-term goal?
That I want to have a longevity of body when I'm still at 40, 50.
Okay.
I don't want to put on too much muscle. I don't want to go to the gym too hard and lift too heavy weights to the point where my joints.
What's behind you saying you don't want to put on too much muscle? Just so I understand.
Well, for you to put on muscle, you have to lift really heavy weights, right? Am I correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay, but you have to.
You just lift more than you're currently doing, but yes.
Okay, right. You have to be strenuous in the gym, which is harder. Yeah, so that puts more load onto your joints and stuff.
Okay.
I don't want to. My knees are already kind of fucked from jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So take it easy.
Got you.
But I still want to be able to look good and train Muay Thai without injuries.
I'll ask you a question.
I don't want to be slow.
Have you ever seen those fit old people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do any of them look like extremely frail to you, or do you feel like they've got a bit of like muscle to
No,
them?
not muscle.
Yeah. And that's because muscle is that, it's the longevity tool. Having more muscle doesn't mean that you just look good. It actually means you just operate better. So when you have more muscle on your frame, you're actually going to be able to perform tasks more efficiently. You're going to be able to do your day-to-day things a lot easier. You're going to take, pains from being on your tendons and your joints to actually being placed on your muscles, because your muscles have the capacity to actually support that. So the very first step that I would do for yourself, and I believe this for everyone, no matter what you're at, try and get lean, right? You want to try and lose a bit of weight first, and you might think, well, I'm already skinny. Well, yes, you might be skinny fat, okay? If you're not seeing your abs, but you're already, somewhat lean, get leaner. Maybe to the point where you can see your abs, full 4, 6-pack. The reason for that is you want to get your body into a state where it actually can use the nutrients you're giving it as energy rather than being stored as fat. So that would be step 1, right? And you can follow the exact same guidelines here, which is to take a food journal. You already have your daily activity sorted out, to then understand how you can start losing weight. Now, once you've gotten yourself to that point, you can then slowly introduce more food. Once you introduce more food, you're going to feel better. You can then start going to the gym. It doesn't have to be 3 times a week. It can be once, twice. Anything more than what you're doing now will build muscle, right? You don't have to be inside the gym 6 days a week if you're doing 0 right now. First off, you're not going to stick with it. Secondly, you're going to be way too sore to push yourself hard. And thirdly, you might just get bored so quick. Whereas if you can do 1-2 days to start with, 30-minute sessions, you're going to find that joy. What does work? What don't you like? And then go from there. And at that point, you start to see the changes in your physique. You get hooked to it. Your brain's like, oh my God, like I'm seeing the results of all my hard work and effort. Let me just continue with this. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. Thanks.
Awesome.
All good.
What are your thoughts on peptides? Specifically Ratatouille.
It's kind of an unregulated grey space. I'm not going to say I have information or know, too much about it. So I won't really speak on it.
Because I tried it for like a month, and I found it helped quite a lot.
Okay. In what way did you find it helped?
Like I got less cravings, I wasn't as hungry, but then when I did eat, I could still eat like enough. But I never overate, I never binged, and then now I haven't done it for like a month and a half, and I don't get as many cravings, I don't binge eat as much. Even last night, like there was a tub of ice cream, like normally, I would like finish the rest, so I just had like a few spoons.
So your overall experience was, would you say, positive?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
which is great, you know, that's great. So in someone like your case, you obviously understand the risks associated with something that's experimental, it's not approved, and you've obviously taken that risk, you understand that, but you've seen the benefits of it, which is amazing. Now, unfortunately, with stuff like that, there's no way of saying how it can affect someone like Dane or Reese. You know, it can have a completely different side effect on them. They might still have the cravings, they might be more reliant on a drug that's not even tested, and before we know it, it actually might do more harm than good for them. So I feel like with stuff like that, you have to be the person to assess whether you actually want to take that risk to begin with. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay with the different side effects that come along with it in hopes of getting some benefit, then you're your own person, you can do as you please. But to say everyone should be on that, I disagree. The one thing that a lot of people neglect is just having the basics down pat. Just focusing on more nutritious foods, not having pizzas and burgers all the time. Going to the gym 2-3 times a week. Because if you introduce that without those habits in place, it's just going to be a recipe for disaster. You're going to be losing weight, which means muscle also, right? You're going to be losing strength. You're becoming more frail. You're going to look sickly. Sure, you might be reducing your cravings, but what else are you reducing? So there's definitely that risk to it also.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, you sir.